The image of Kelly Ripa and Mark Consuelos has been, for nearly 3 decades, a bedrock of relational stability in the chaotic landscape of Hollywood. They are the couple you point to when cynicism about fame and love creeps in. They met on the set of All My Children, fell in love amidst the fictional drama of Pine Valley, and built a very real, very enduring life together. A thriving marriage, 3 children, and a powerful co-branded presence in the entertainment industry. Their chemistry is palpable, whether they're bantering on her morning show, Live with Kelly and Mark, or sharing playful, sometimes risque jabs on social media. They are, by all public accounts, #couple goals personified. Which is why a recent, seemingly off-the-cuff confession from Kelly Ripa on her friend Andy Cohen's late-night show, Watch What Happens Live, sent such a seismic shock through their fan base. It was a moment that sliced through the carefully curated perfection, revealing a layer of profound shared pain that left thousands of viewers not just surprised, but genuinely heartbroken. The confession wasn't about an affair or an impending divorce, the typical tabloid fodder. It was something subtler, more nuanced, and for many, far more relatable. This article will deconstruct that late-night moment, explore the context of Ripa and Consuelos' relationship, analyze the nature of the confession and why it resonated so deeply, and examine the subsequent fallout and the couple's response. It is a story about the gap between public perception and private reality, the unglamorous work of marriage, and the universal ache of paths not taken. To understand the impact of the confession, one must first appreciate the fortress of perfection that Ripa and Consuelos had built around their relationship. Their origin story is the stuff of romantic legend. In 1995, a fresh-faced Kelly Ripa was playing the bubbly Haley Vaughn on the iconic soap opera. The role of Mateo Santos, a charismatic and brooding hotel waiter, was being cast. Mark Consuelos, a relatively unknown actor, auditioned. The chemistry was instant and electric. Ripa has often recounted that she knew almost immediately she would marry him, despite him initially refusing to give her his phone number. Their courtship was a whirlwind. They filmed steamy scenes by day, and a real-life romance blossomed off camera. In a move that defied Hollywood convention, they eloped in Las Vegas in 1996. It was impulsive, secret, and utterly romantic. This us-against-the-world beginning became the foundational myth of their partnership. They weren't just a couple, they were a team, a unit, forged in the fires of a soap opera and solidified in a Vegas chapel. As their family grew, with the births of Michael, Lola, and Joaquin, so did their careers. Ripa seamlessly transitioned from soap star to reigning queen of morning television, taking over the chair on Live alongside Regis Philbin and later a rotating carousel of co-hosts, before the position was permanently and poetically filled by her own husband. Consuelos built a respected career of his own, with roles in shows like Riverdale, while also proving to be a savvy businessman and producer. Their public persona was built on a specific brand of intimacy. They were playful, they were honest about the mundane aspects of marriage, and they were fiercely loyal. They shared stories of petty arguments, differences in parenting styles, and the challenges of merging 2 strong-willed personalities. But these stories were always told with a wink and a laugh, framed as minor speed bumps on an otherwise smooth highway. The underlying message was always clear. Through it all, their connection was unbreakable. They were best friends, business partners, and lovers, all wrapped into one photogenic package. This carefully constructed image made the crack that appeared on Watch What Happens Live all the more startling. Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen is known for its loose, unfiltered, and often tipsy atmosphere. Celebrities let their guard down, spurred on by Cohen's insider status and the show's cocktail hour vibe. Kelly Ripa, a close friend of Cohen's, is a frequent and beloved guest, always good for a revealing anecdote or two. On this particular night, the conversation, as it often does, turned to her marriage with Mark. They were discussing the early, struggling years in New York City, a time when both were trying to make it as actors, living in a small apartment, and facing the financial and professional uncertainties that define that phase of life. The tone was light, nostalgic. Then Cohen, perhaps sensing an opportunity for a deeper cut, asked a question that was more probing than the usual, "What's your secret?" fare. He asked about regret. Not regret about marrying Mark, but regret about the timing. He floated the idea of the pressure they faced, the dreams they individually held, and how the rapid-fire sequence of their meeting, elopement, and starting a family might have forced certain sacrifices. Kelly, who had been sipping her cocktail, grew quiet for a moment. The ever-present smile on her face softened into something more contemplative, more wistful. She looked directly at Andy, and in a voice stripped of its usual morning show effervescence, she delivered the confession that would break the internet. "It's the loneliness," she said. "Nobody talks about the loneliness of a partnership that has to be a fortress." She went on to explain that in those early years, and even at certain points later, there was an immense, unspoken pressure to present a united front. To the world, to their families, to their industry. Every disagreement, every moment of doubt, every individual struggle had to be contained within the walls of their relationship. There was no room for wavering, for admitting they might be in over their heads, or for pursuing paths that would take them away from each other for too long. "The dream was our dream," she continued. "And when you build something that is us against the world, you can't very well turn to the world and say, this is really hard today. You have to be each other's everything, and Mark is my everything. But sometimes I missed having just a piece of something for myself, a dream that was just mine, that didn't have to be run by the committee of us." She then articulated the core of the heartbreak, the part that specifically involved Mark. "And I see it in him, too. There's a sadness there sometimes, a what if. We love our life. We love our family. We are so grateful. But I think we both mourn the people we might have been, the versions of ourselves that got lost in the service of this beautiful, wonderful thing we built together. We had to grow up so fast. We never got to be irresponsible, to be selfish, to fail on our own terms. We failed and succeeded as a unit. And loving Mark so much, and seeing that flicker of a question in his eyes sometimes, what if I had done that? That's the most heartbreaking part, because I feel responsible for it." The studio audience, which had been laughing moments before, fell into a stunned silence. This wasn't a funny story about a fight over laundry. This was a raw admission of the existential cost of their legendary love story. The reaction on social media was immediate and visceral. The clip went viral, and the comment sections were flooded with a symphony of empathy and sorrow. For many fans, the confession felt like a personal loss. They had invested in the idea of Ripa and Consuelos as the exception to the rule, the proof that a fairy tale love could exist without the standard compromises and quiet sorrows. To hear that even they had experienced loneliness and regret within their partnership was deeply disillusioning. It was as if the foundational couple had revealed that the foundation itself had cracks. For another, larger segment of the audience, the heartbreak stemmed from a place of profound recognition. This was not a uniquely Hollywood problem, this was a human one. Countless people in long-term relationships, marriages, and partnerships saw their own unspoken struggles reflected in Ripa's words. The pressure to present a happy face, the sublimation of individual identity for the good of the family unit, the quiet mourning of personal ambitions, these are universal themes. Fans tweeted things like, "She just put into words what I've felt for 15 years but was too afraid to say," and "It's so validating to know that even the perfect couples feel this way." Ripa's insight into Mark's perceived sadness added another layer to the heartbreak. It introduced a complex element of guilt and mutual sacrifice. The idea that love isn't just about what you give up for yourself, but the pain of watching the person you love give up their dreams for you is a profound and often unacknowledged dynamic. Fans felt heartbroken for Mark, imagining the weight of his own silenced ambitions, and heartbroken for Kelly, who shouldered the emotional burden of seeing that in him. The conversation quickly moved beyond simple gossip into a broader cultural discussion about the unrealistic expectations we place on marriage. Therapists and relationship experts were quoted in think pieces analyzing Ripa's comments. They pointed out that her confession was actually a sign of a healthy relationship, one secure enough to acknowledge complexity, ambivalence, and struggle. The perfect relationship, they argued, is not one without pain, but one that can withstand and communicate that pain. In the days following the interview, both Ripa and Consuelos addressed the fallout, albeit in their characteristic ways. On the next episode of Live with Kelly and Mark, the topic was unavoidable. They didn't address it head-on in the main segment, but their chemistry seemed more tender, more deliberate. During the host chat, Kelly gently alluded to the noise online and thanked fans for their incredibly kind and supportive messages. Mark, sitting beside her, reached over and took her hand. He didn't say anything, but the look he gave her, a mixture of pride, understanding, and unwavering solidarity, was worth 1,000 words. It was a nonverbal confirmation of everything she